Who's number 2 this week? The Lincoln Way Knights of Coach Steve Little. They're only 10-8 overall, but they are 5-1 and sitting atop the Sika West. We will meet the Knights in a moment as they knocked off Joliet Central this past week. Romeoville at 8-8 had their best effort of the year and bolt from 7-3 this week on the outstanding effort against Andrew, a game that you'll see coming up after this program. And of course, they've got Lincoln Way coming up this week. Andrew drops to number 4 this week at 13-5 overall, and the Joliet Central boys Steelmen are on a roller coaster ride. This week they're down. Who knows? Next week they may be back up. The second 5 of our top 10 have the Providence Celtics, a winner this past week, to vault them above the 500 mark since early in the season. Lamont now also a game above 500 at number 7. The Lockport Porters were idle last week, believe it or not, but they will have Joliet West and Andrew to take on this week. Plainfield at number 9 at 7-10, and Joliet Catholic lost 2 last week. They remain at the bottom of the top 10. Now the girls' top 5 have Joliet West remaining number 1 at 21-4. They won 2 last week, while Lincoln Way and their Lady Knights at 14-8 are number 2 this week in our top 5. Lockport at 14-10 with their big win over Joliet Central moves up to number 3, followed by the Lady Steelmen, who you just met, and the Romeoville Lady Spartans, who lost this past week at 15-8. They're in the number 5 position. Now our Channel 15 TNT High School Athlete of the Week, honored and sponsored by our good friends, the Thayers and Tomzaks, over at their TNT restaurant on West Jefferson Street in Joliet. And this week we honor Oliver Gibson, not for football, but for basketball. Oliver sank that final second 10-foot jumper in overtime from the baseline to get Romeoville over the hump in an overtime thriller against Andrew. In fact, Gibson had missed much of the second half due to foul trouble and much of the second quarter due to foul trouble, but he came through in the clutch with 14 points, 13 rebounds, 3 steals, and 2 block shots in that outstanding game that you'll see later here tonight. Oliver Gibson, our TNT High School Athlete of the Week. Now, you talk about what a great game it was. Well, why don't we look a little bit of it. This past week, our high school game of the week, one of the best we've seen all season long here, and I think you'll enjoy it when you see it coming up later this evening. The game features Romeoville and Andrew. While the Bill led after each of the first 3 quarters, Coach John Meyer was up and down off the bench trying to applaud his ball club and keep them in the game. One of the guys that did was Oliver Gibson, whether it was from the outside with this jumper from the free throw line, and that, of course, made Mike Wolozak, the head coach for Andrew, begin to wonder if this game would ever end. Romeoville got things going. Neil Fried Rice gets the rebound and the follow and puts it in. Rice had a big game that night, and so did Kirk Thomas. And when Gibson missed, Rice was there with the rebound and the follow. Neil Rice with a team-high 35 points that night, although he fouled out late in the 4th quarter, but Romeoville held on. The big guy that was the thorn in the side for Romeoville was Dave DeHaan, number 30 for Andrew. He was the game-high scorer with 38 points, and most of them came from the inside. And when he wasn't getting the baskets, he was rebounding or taking passes from Chris Delaney and Sonny London on the break. DeHaan gets it on the other end, and he picks up the foul for the basket. DeHaan was red hot throughout the game for Andrew, and so were their fans, many of them who came over from Tinley Park for the game. McClinton the rebound, and Delaney will bring it up for Andrew. And watch the great passing here. Delaney says, I'm going to go all the way in. Opens up the lane for the layup. Chris Delaney had a big night, too, with 28 points. DeHaan, though, goes back inside. He is a southpaw, and he works the left side of that glass like a pro. DeHaan was a big player, keeping Andrew and their fans in the game. But in the end, it was Brian Jurdy, whose free throw brought the Bill back within 1. And that had Andrews, Coach Wolozak, in a hurry. And so was his team. But they got some good passing. McClintock, the bucket, and he'll go to the line with the foul, but he'll not make the free throw. But watch what happens here following the free throw here in the last minute of play for the Andrew Thunderbolts. McClinton misses it. Andrew DeHaan gets the rebound, brings it back out, down low. Sonny London gets the layup for 2, and all of a sudden it is a 4-point ball game. And John Myers beginning to get worried whether or not his team's going to be able to pull it out against the visiting Andrew Thunderbolts. But it's diagram time. It's now a 2-point ball game with less than 10 seconds left. Romeoville in white inbounds the ball. Smith to Jury. Turnaround uses the glass for 2. And we are tied at 70 at the end of regulation. And then it goes into overtime. Brian Jurdy, big clutch basket, and his teammates are happy about it. Their clutch ball at the end of regulation kept Romeoville in it. You want to find out what happened in overtime? Well, the game's coming up immediately following the show, and we'll have the overtime for you in its entirety in that Romeoville-Andrew Game of the Week. By the way, high school wrestling took on center stage in the conference meets over the past weekend.
WCTV Channel 15 presents the High School Basketball Game of the Week, sponsored by the Chicago Tribune with Preps Plus, big league coverage of your community.
It has been 4 years since this town tasted state tournament basketball, but there is a new head coach of the Romeoville Spartan Boys varsity basketball program, and John Meyer hopes to start their way back to Champaign. In the meantime, they take a big conference game on tap tonight as they play a team that has their inaugural state tournament aspirations on the line, as two Sicko West teams take themselves on tonight as the Romeoville Spartans in their home gymnasium inside the building take on the Andrew Thunderbolts of Coach Mike Wallazak. Tonight, it's the first place T-Bolts against the Spartans in our high school basketball game of the week. Good evening again, everyone. I'm Joe Passion, along with Frank Palmasani, and the Andrew Thunderbolts under fourth-year coach Mike Wallazak has his T-Bolts in first place at 4-1 in the Sicko West, and tied with Lincoln Way as we speak to you here tonight. But a Romeoville Spartan team that most coaches will tell you will play with anybody in the Sicko West. It's just that they haven't been doing that very consistently. Mike Wallazak feels somewhat the same about his team despite them being in first place.
Joe, both coaches have basketball coaches syndrome. And basketball coaches syndrome is if you talk to them in the middle of the year and ask them how they're doing, they're never happy. Mike Wallazak's not happy because his team started out strong, but since Christmas has been slumping, needs defensive intensity. John Meyer, really been inconsistent all year, some up, some down, but again, wants defensive intensity. Every coach wants more out of their kids defensively, and especially these two guys.
Well, here in Romeoville, well, football is usually king of the sports. One of the fans told me before the game, the heck with basketball, Joe, let's get on with the football season. Well, stay tuned, folks. You may see some physical, intense players banging against each other before this game is out. First off, for the Romeoville Spartans, they are led by football All-American Oliver Gibson. As Gibson's intensity and lack of foul trouble go, so go the Romeoville Spartans. Gibson, who is averaging nearly 17 points a game and 11 rebounds, is the guy that gets this team going. As long as he's on the court and out of foul trouble, everyone else around him plays well. And when Gibson's on, the other teams aren't always, but Andrew has some things to counter the big, tough Oliver Gibson.
Well, they've been a two offensive-oriented team, Joe. Chris Delaney and Dave DeHaan. These two kids get it done inside and outside. Delaney's the great shooter, DeHaan's the inside player. But Gibson is such a force, and Mike Wallazak knows that he's going to have to really be conscious of Gibson, but he also sees Romeoville as this in-and-out team because he's also very concerned about Neil Rice and his ability to put the ball up from the perimeter.
And for first-year coach John Meyer, his Spartans are just one game below 500 in the Sicko West. They need a win here tonight to stay in pace with the Andrew Thunderbolts. And, of course, Mike Wallazak would like to get a win here to stay on top of the conference standings. And we'll talk to the coaches as our pregame coverage here continues on our high school basketball game of the week.
We're back here at Romeoville High School with basketball coach Mike Walasek. And Mike's Andrews team has got a lot to play for. Never won regional, never won a conference title. Where are the kids mentally going in this game against Romeoville?
Coming out of the locker room, I think we're in pretty good shape. We've got a chance to, be in first place after the first round, and they realize that, and hopefully we'll come out and play hard tonight.
Mike, you had mentioned to me earlier that you're very conscious of two primary players for Romeoville. Gibson's a force inside, but you mentioned another kid that you're very conscious of.
We got to take care of Rice. He's a good offensive guard, and he likes to penetrate an awful lot. We got to make him shoot the ball outside as much as we can.
Mike, good luck to you tonight, and albeit a great game.
Thank you.
We'll be back with Joe talking to John Meyer, coach of Romeoville High School, after this.
College students, here's your chance to gain fame and excitement. WCTV 15 is looking for your programs to broadcast on college night. Give yourself the edge necessary to succeed in television by having your material viewed by thousands. For information, write Continental Cablevision, Studio Coordinator, 1304 Marquette Drive, Romeoville, Illinois, 60441. All entries must have the necessary consent for broadcast and are subject to approval.
Back down on the court, pregame chat session with John Meyer in his first year as the head coach of the Romeoville Spartans. You probably are familiar with his face. He's been around the program for nearly a decade as an assistant coach, paid his due, and now he's got the big show, the hot seat. And I know one problem you've had this year is some discipline problems, and I guess that just comes with intensity, keeping it before the game and keeping it throughout the game. What are you doing to keep that intensity up, John?
Well, we try to change the defenses around a little bit, try to throw different guys on different players out there. The intensity level, we want an up-tempo game, and if we feel we can have an up-tempo game, our intensity on defense is going to be just that much better.
You know, we talked about intensity in Oliver Gibson. As he goes, so go the Spartans in many respects. Do you talk to Oliver about that role that he has to lead out there and to stay out of foul trouble?
Well, absolutely. We know that we're going to struggle on the floor if Oliver does get in some foul trouble, and that he has to do a better job, especially on the offensive end, because that's where he picks up 2 or 3 of his fouls, not on the defensive end, but on the offensive end of the floor.
Real quickly, you're only one game under 500. You got a big conference game in front of you here. Is Andrew beatable, or are they atop everybody else?
Oh, absolutely. Everybody's beatable. They came off a conference loss against Joliet Central. We hope to do the same thing. That puts us back in a race, one game back, and then we'll see what Central does with Lincoln Way tonight also.
All right, John, go get him. Thanks for being here with us.
Much,
John Meyer in his first year. He's here to make an upset at home against the first place Andrew Thunderbolts, and Frank and I will be back with the starting lineups and the opening tip-off of the Spartans against the T-Bolts in our high school basketball game of the week.
New from the Trib, Preps Plus, big league coverage of your community.
The home of the Romeoville Spartans has been a wonderful home for tournament action in basketball, boys and girls. During the regular season, it's the Spartans' turn to try and turn the tables on the first place Andrew Thunderbolts, their opponents tonight in this Sicko West confrontation. Good evening, everyone. Joe Passion, along with Frank Palmasani, former Providence head coach, former assistant at Lewis, and we're about to meet the host,
Romeoville Spartans. In the backcourt will be Kurt Thomas, number 12. He's the 5'7" senior point guard, averaging about 5 points a game. Neil Rice is the big scorer, 19 points per game from his off-guard position. Rice at number 23, 6'1" senior. In the middle is the big guy. Of course, everyone knows about his football attributes, but he wants to play Division I basketball too. Oliver Gibson, 6'4", 240 senior, averaging 17 points and 10.5 rebounds. As Gibson plays, so does Wilson Winters, number 33. Big power forward, just a junior at 6'6". Winters averaging 13 points, 9.5 boards. And Brian Jurdy, the G is silent, folks. He's a junior at 6'3". Jurdy is the garbage man, does a lot of the little things very well. And the Andrew Thunderbolts, whose team has already been introduced, stands along with the Spartans and the fans here at the gym tonight for our national anthem. A sizable crowd here for tonight's high school basketball game of the week. Our officials tonight, Joe LaBella and Jim Long, two veteran officials to handle the game here for us tonight. The T-Bolts of Andrew at Tinley Park High School here in their visiting black jerseys with the gold and white trim, and the Romeoville Spartans in their white jerseys with the orange and dark blue trim. The man to watch, of course, for the Andrew Thunderbolts, as you heard earlier on the pregame from Frank Palmasani, are the two big scorers. Chris Delaney, number 33, and David DeHaan in the middle, number 30. And, of course, Gibson, number 34 for Romeoville. Winters and Rice, 33 and 23 in the white for Romeoville. Frank, you know these two teams are going to come out hard. They both play tremendously physical and up-tempo basketball, and we're already getting a look at it.
Neil Rice took the ball to the basket hard on the baseline, but a great defensive play by Andrew taking that charge.
Neil Rice with the offensive foul, a great move, but again, here is a proof that Andrew will take the body when they have to, and this is one problem that Romeoville has faced in losing outings this year, Frank, getting into offensive fouls by their top players. Here's a steal by Rice. He's going all the way, and he does it with spectacular fashion. Rice makes up for the offensive foul and jams one home to open the game at 2-0.
There's a heck of a way to start, isn't it, Joe? Why not just do it all yourself? Steal the ball and then dunk it on the other end.
Well, here's Oliver Gibson's turn. He tries to hard layup too much. A good defensive move on the other end by Brian Ludden to prevent that breakaway layup. Ludden inside. Nice little left-hand move by David DeHaan. DeHaan is a southpaw, and he will go with that left hand like a natural southpaw would, and a lot of players find trouble defending that. We got a foul down in the paint.
Joe, you look at DeHaan, and you know that he's been such a good inside scorer. As a matter of fact, Mike Walsek had said last year they played him on the perimeter and then moved him inside toward the end of the year. He did so well they kept him in there. But you can see why now. He doesn't have great size, but very good quickness inside, and he knows how to use both of his hands around the basket.
DeHaan got the foul for Andrew, and we've got a foul inside on the inbounds play. John Ware gets the foul for Andrew. 2 team fouls against the T-Bolts. Ball put up, rebound by Ware. And the T-Bolts bring it down quickly. On the dribble is Sonny London. A lot of quickness. He looks inside to DeHaan, and DeHaan with 2 more. David DeHaan, a 6'3" junior, averaging nearly 20 points a game at 19.5, and also with 9 rebounds. He has been a spectacular inside player for them. As Frank mentioned, along with Delaney's outside shooting, Andrew is a great threat, and Kirk Thomas sends one home from the outside. We're tied at 4 with 6:20 left in the first quarter.
One of the things that Coach Meyer would like to see is his club really share the ball and distribute the ball well so that everybody can be a part of that offensive flow.
Down low and blocked by Gibson. Right back up, though. On the rebound is DeHaan. It's still up in the air, and Oliver Gibson finally brings it down. Gibson started it with a block. He gets the rebound.
Oliver Gibson is such an intimidating force. I mean, not only does he block the ball, but he takes up so much space around the basket. When he pulls down a rebound, you had better get out of the way, Joe.
Beautiful pull-up jumper. Gibson, the offensive board, wants to put it back up. Cannot. DeHaan with the loose ball. On the break, Sonny London has the ball blocked, stepping out of bounds. However, sleepwalking is Brian Jurdy. Had a great defensive effort, but then Jurdy didn't realize he was on the line out of bounds. The T-Bolts will have it underneath their own basket. We're still tied at 4. DeHaan on Gibson. Good one-on-one matchup. Almost stolen away. Neil Rice has 2 steals already today and almost came up with his third.
You can see Dave DeHaan has one idea, and that's to get around the basket. He doesn't look like he really wants to shoot the ball from the perimeter. He wants to get inside where he feels comfortable being able to maneuver.
We talked a lot about Chris Delaney. He has the ball from 3-point range, and he's got it. Chris Delaney's first bucket of the night is a 3, and it's 7-4 in favor of Andrew. We have a foul against the T-Bolts, and you can see by the reaction of Chris Delaney and by number 23, Brian Ludden, they don't like it at all.
Joe, that was one of those calls where Delaney felt like he had all ball, and the referee's calling the quick contact.
Ludden got the foul, however, not Delaney. Inbounds to Winters. He forces his way along the baseline for 2. Wilson Winters has his first bucket of the night. We're within 1, 7-6.
That's a great offensive play where that offensive player will operate underneath, almost to a position where he doesn't have an angle to shoot it, and all of a sudden sneak back to the inside.
Delaney, a good look into David DeHaan, who's got 6. It's all DeHaan and Delaney on the scoreboard for the T-Bolts. They lead 9-6.
Joe, you know, you talk about 2 players offensively, and one might say, well, geez, you can defense 2 players. But the key is that the other kids adopt to their roles so well, and they're always looking to get those guys the ball in scoring positions.
A good bounce pass by Thomas into Winters, who slams it off the glass for 2. And we've got a foul down low. One thing we are seeing by both teams, as promised by the coaches, we're going to have a physical, up-tempo ball game. Already we have 6 personal fouls here in the first quarter by both teams combined, and we are seeing some 94-foot basketball.
Well, the tempo's really been set, as you mentioned, Joe, early. I mean, both teams have come out very aggressively.
Rice has 2 of those Romeoville fouls, and Gibson has 3 rebounds. The Ville in the white jerseys. Turn around. A nice pull-up jumper from inside the foul line is Neil Rice. He has 4.
When Neil Rice gets the ball, he's a very active player. I mean, he's got enough quickness that he can free himself off the dribble. Then when he gets a screen like he did in that case, it's doubly effective because he's got the advantage of the offensive player working with him.
Rice's basket gives Romeoville a 1-point lead, 10-9. But taking that lead right back is John Ware with his first bucket of the night. And John Meyer on his ankles there in front of the Romeoville bench is concerned, but his ball club's within 1.
Both teams have played very aggressively, but neither team have been able to shut anybody out defensively.
I'll tell you, Neil Rice is putting all his quickness into this. Gibson the rebound and powers his way up there. Gibson's 4 rebounds and his first bucket of the night for Oliver Gibson regains the lead for the Ville at 12-11 with 3.5 left in the first quarter. Chris Delaney looking and knocked out of bounds by the quick hands of Kirk Thomas. And our first substitution of the game coming in for the Romeoville Spartans is number 15, Darrell Hayes. And for the 5'8 junior, Darrell Hayes, his first varsity appearance of the season. And he gets a rebound on his first play of the game. He is a transfer student and is eligible to play for the Spartans this semester, and he is in the ball game. Number 15 has a lot of quickness despite being small. Unable to do anything bad about David DeHaan. He has 8 points here in the first quarter, and it's 13-12 Andrew.
Joe, when you get two teams that really like to push the ball up the floor, you're going to see a high-scoring game, and there's no question that the beginning of this game proves that to be true.
Rice sees some room in the paint. He drives all the way. A nice assist from Gibson, as Mike Walczak also down on his ankles in front of the Andrew bench. Both head coaches showing the same moves in front of their own bench. Long jumper, Delaney, no good. Rebound, Gibson. He's got 5 boards already. Look at the quickness by Hayes. No wonder why they're glad to have him in the lineup.
Well, I know John Meyer feels like he could be a catalyst. You know, he hasn't been around playing his first game. It's great to have something like that in the middle of the year. Oftentimes, a player like that can really pick up everybody else. Earlier, Joe, I wanted to comment about Chris Delaney. But you can always tell the ability of a player when the offense is geared to clearing the floor. And a couple other times down the floor, they cleared the floor for Delaney and they allowed him to play one-on-one.
There have not been a lot of turnovers, but there have been 2 with less than a second here, and 2:18 left in the first quarter. Both teams having problems holding on to the ball. Romeoville turn it over for a moment, then Andrew turn it over on the inbounds. Want physical basketball? Welcome to our high school basketball game of the week.
Incidental contact, I think they call that.
Only when they're wearing shorts. 14-13, Romeoville with a 1-point lead over the visiting Thunderbolts of Andrew. Tied in first place as we speak here, Friday night, January 26th in Romeoville. The T-Bolts at 4-1 in conference, tied with Lincoln Way going into this weekend's Sicko West action.
There's an expected move by Mike Walasek. Not real pleased with his man-to-man. Has gone to a 2-3 zone.
And we have a foul, and I believe it's against Gibson, who clearing away the lane with a little bit too much muscle.
This is going to be a real key, Joe. Gibson needs to stay in the game, and if he has one problem, it's because sometimes he's overly aggressive, especially on the offensive end from the standpoint of offensive fouls, fouls reaching over someone's back.
And again, Delaney, an outstanding scorer, but also an outstanding passer, gets the ball underneath, along with the help of London.
That was a terrific pass coming off a screen and roll play. Instead of hitting the man that was rolling, the forward on the other side of the floor freed himself and London delivered the ball.
Jurdy collects the foul for Romeoville, and Gibson will be spotted a breather with 1:43 left in the first quarter. Coming in for Gibson is Winters, who took a breather a moment ago in place of Darrell Hayes. At the line, number 44, John Weir. This young man, by the way, for the Andrew Thunderbolts, gets both free throws. He's a garbage man, says Coach Walczak. Does a lot of the little things, not real flashy, but Neil Rice is, and almost lets that one go in. But DeHaan with the rebound.
Obviously, it's a part of the philosophy on Romeoville. When Rice gets the ball on his side, he's just allowed to take the ball to the basket. He can pull up for his jump shot or take the ball all the way.
Weir with the fade one-hander. He is called for traveling. Turnover Andrew. And with a 1-point Thunderbolt lead, they give the ball up with 1:22 left in the first.
Joe, it's really been a back-and-forth game. It doesn't seem like anyone can substantiate more than a 1-point lead.
Hayes down low, nice look into Winters, but he is fouled by Weir. That will be John Weir's 3rd personal foul.
Joe, that was a great pass. The bounce pass in the post is always a great pass. When you bounce the ball along the baseline, it's very difficult to guard.
Down low to Winters, all over his back is number 20, Sonny London, and London collects his first personal foul.
Mike Wallace's really got to be concerned with foul trouble. It doesn't seem like Andrew was able to substantiate tough defense, and they're just, using some fouls and getting Romeoville here at the line very early.
With the bonus already in effect here, at the line, Winters misses the one-on-one. On the dribble is Chris Delaney. Delaney only with one bucket, but it was a three-pointer from the near baseline. Less than a minute to go here in the first quarter.